Hi, welcome to another Quick Start demonstration exercise. This is the second demonstration for Module 1. Okay, in the first demonstration, we went over just how to access and review our databases in SPSS. In this demonstration, we're going to talk about how to use our codebooks. Recall from the first demonstration that knowing the actual question wording for each of the questions that appear in the survey database, that the utilities variables command only gave us an abbreviated sense of what the actual question was. And so to actually really know what questions were asked of those who completed the survey and to get a sense of the actual survey data, we need to actually always make reference to and use the codebook. All right, whenever you're working with secondary databases that are already in existence, you'll always want to ask for the codebook. All right. And so just to get started here, what I want to do is I'll move out of this, and we want to go ahead and access the codebooks that are available to us in Blackboard. And with regard to Blackboard as opposed to SPSS, which we always want to access through Internet Explorer, when we're in Blackboard, we want to go ahead and use Firefox. Okay? And I already primed the pump a little bit on that in terms of accessing Blackboard. I already typed in my username and my password. And now what I want to do is I want to go to Social Statistics, our section, or whatever section we're talking about. And right here, in terms of, we want to just go ahead and access the codebooks that are available in the datasets in Codebooks Draw. This way you're not finding it or flipping through earlier modules in order to get your codebooks. Okay, because you're always going to maybe want to always, throughout all your modules, is reference your codebooks for the databases. Okay? And now we know that we're going to access those databases through the L drive, right? We don't have to, if we click them on now, well, if we don't have SPSS on our home computer, they won't run. But if we're accessing SPSS remotely and we're grabbing the databases from the L drive, then we'll be able to get those databases. In fact, I might just go ahead and take them off Blackboard here so it doesn't confuse anyone. But what we can open are the codebooks. All right, and since we reviewed the general social survey first in the last demonstration exercise, let's just simply click on the GSS codebook, and this contains all the survey questions for subset A as well as B. And then we simply want to open it. And you're saying, hey, nothing's showing up, Steph, but just give it a minute to populate. Okay, and let me go ahead and expand the view on this. And zoom in. I'm going to go to 200%. And notice that this first question here is the question Abony. And here's the question in terms of the full question wording. Please tell me whether or not you think it should be possible for a pregnant woman to obtain a legal abortion if, and then the first question was, the woman wants it for any reason. Okay? And people could respond yes or no. And notice here that there's also some information with regard to the years that it was asked. And we know that we're working with the GSS 2008, and that question was asked that year. But for now, all right, if you're interested in this question, and although it's a question that is too often used by SOS 232 students, and I hope you guys can be a little bit more creative with regard reaching down deeper into the database, into the codebook for interesting variables. But what you'll want to note, if you were interested in this question, you want to note the mnemonic, or the variable name, abony. And then just the question. You want to write down the question, or print that off, or cut and paste it into another file. And then how it was coded, yes or no. The next question follows from the second. Please tell me whether you think it should be possible for a pregnant woman to obtain a legal abortion if there's a strong chance of birth of serious defect in the baby. And people could respond 1 or 2. The next question has to do with abortion. It's a subset C. Should abortion be available if a woman's health is seriously endangered? If she is married and does not want any more children. And if you were interested in questions on abortion, or the issue of abortion, it's a hot topic over the summer, as we know, with regard to what was going on in the Texas legislature over this particular issue. Perhaps you would want to maybe think about doing some of your research and your analysis on this set of abortion questions, right? And if you did, you would want to maybe start to make note of the variable mnemonics, ab no more, if she, right? Ab health, ab defect, and abony. But if you go scroll through the code book, here's a question on, I'll just randomly stop here, this question on equal wealth. And the question here is, government should, and I guess here in terms of this one, I think they must have mistakenly taken out the question. I don't know. Anyway, that question you would definitely maybe want to bypass, or just email me if you're interested in this question. I think it has something to do with the government should be more involved in the equal distribution of wealth. And I can just verify that one for you. This other question is number 237 that was missing from the one above. Is there any area right around here that is within a mile where you would be afraid to walk alone at night? Okay? And the variable mnemonic is fear. And people could respond yes or no. Alright, in terms of their area. And safety of their neighborhood or their community. That's a good question. And this question here, 256. Now I'm going to read several more statements. As I read each one, please tell me whether or not you strongly agree or disagree or strongly disagree with it. A working mother can establish just as warm and secure a relationship with her children as a mother who does not work. And the question here was rated as strongly agree to strongly disagree. All right? And just note the mnemonic, fee child. All right, because if you wanted to do further analysis on that question or variable in the future, right, you would need to know the variable mnemonic in SPSS. Okay? And so once you review the GSS codebook from start to finish and start to select out some variables that are of interest to you and which would be the main focus of your investigation, and other variables that may be related to explaining people's views on this question, gender, marital status, race, region of the country, age of the respondent, right, in terms of how they're thinking about women and working and children, you just make note of those questions, right? And this question on politics, tell me if you agree or disagree with this statement. Most men are better suited emotionally for politics than most women. Okay, and then we have 2008 data that's available to us, but it would be neat to look at how people's views on women in politics might have changed over time here in the United States. And if you're interested in those questions, right, I can make the other databases available to you. All right, no big deal on that. Those also are available on the L drive. Okay, but once you're finished looking at the GSS codebook, then what you'll want to do is simply download the hints data as well as the monitoring the futures data, not the data, the codebook. I'm sorry. I'll just click that one on, open. This one's arranged a little bit differently. I'm going to go ahead and just expand the view on this one. This question on age, people were collapsed into the following age categories: 18 to 34, 35 to 39, and 40, 44, and 45 plus. Some other things here. And then this question here, right now, do you feel you are overweight, slightly overweight, underweight, slightly underweight, or just about the right weight? And so this is a neat question on how people perceive themselves, their weight. Might be important in explaining other factors, feelings of health and well-being. So you might want to note that one. And here's a question. There are so many different messages about whether being overweight is harmful to one's health. It is hard to know what weight one should maintain to be healthy. Would you say you strongly agree, somewhat agree, or strongly disagree with that statement? Okay, questions on weight and other questions. Okay, so that's the hints codebook. And then finally, all you want to do is go back to Blackboard and also grab the monitoring the futures data, codebook, I'm sorry, and open that. It's taking a minute to populate. Okay, this question, first one on alcohol, note the mnemonic. You would need that. The same with the hints data. I should just go back to the hints data. Remember, guys, if you're interested in this question, what you would want to do is note the mnemonic. And these mnemonics for the hints data are relatively long. This one on BRQ, healthy weight, right? This other one, but just note those, cut and paste those. That way you can easily reference those variables and via that mnemonic when you're in SPSS later. All right? And then go back to the monitoring the futures data. Question, zoom. And here we go. The first question has to do with alcohol. Next, we want to ask you about drinking alcoholic beverages, including beer, wine, liquor. Have you ever had an alcoholic beverage to drink more than just a few sips? Okay. No was coded as 1, and yes coded as 2. This next question. During the last 12 months, how often have you been around people who were taking each of the following to get high or for kicks? And the first one was alcoholic beverages. And notice the mnemonic here, AR, right, drink. And up here, the mnemonic is alcohol. And then you might even, okay. And you might also just take down V3103, but I don't think that's in the database, how it's been prepared for SOS 232 students or social statistics students. And so scroll through the monitoring the futures database, scroll through the hints database, scroll through the GSS database, and not just scroll, but spend some time just reading and reviewing each of the survey questions that was asked, okay? As you start to select your variables for the first set of analyses that won't be due in Module 1, but will be due in Module 2. But essentially what you're doing now is you're starting to excavate the database, you're starting to mine the database by reviewing the codebook and looking for some interesting variables. Alright? And so have fun, stretch your legs, and the more time you spend just reviewing the data, mining the data for interesting variables, developing some really neat research questions, the better the research papers that you'll be able to develop as you move forward through the semester. Okay? And so just relax and have fun. And that marks the second demonstration and the final demonstration for Module 1. Okay? You guys go have fun, get started in excavating the data, mining the codebook for interesting research variables.